Good evening, YouTube. Tonight we'll be discussing miracles within the fundamentalist and evangelical Christian communities in 3 parts. Why the fundies so desperately need them, miracles in the modern age, and the big fancy ones from the Bible. First off, let us define what a miracle is according to Merriam-Webster. An extraordinary event manifesting divine intervention in human affairs. So, why do people in an age of cell phones, bullet trains, sonograms, internet access, and GPS need so desperately a sign from the guy who has personally committed genocide and infanticide and demanded it be done so many times? It is my belief that as humans advance through science and mass communication, the space for Yahweh in our modern culture is slowly and inexorably shrinking. If I want to, I can talk to anyone in the world who has a phone with my cell, or I could do it online for the cost of my service provider. This is an unprecedented and often overlooked accomplishment that our ancestors could only see within the halls of myth and legend. So, in this age where progress unceasingly marches on, with every decade, a new piece of amazing technology appears that changes our lives forever. What room is there for the myths of old? Every damned inch that the lunatics can find, that's what. People are so hopelessly desperate to find God in their everyday life, they are willing to make fools of themselves. They are laughed at and brutally mocked by everyone who has more sense than those who do not see the world through blinders. So why do some of us go to such lengths to be noticed by God? I think that we as human beings in the modern world tend to have very dull and mundane lives. We wake up, we go to work, and we go back to bed. Routine is at the core of our daily lives, and some people have an outright delusional need to be special or chosen when something like this comes along. It can make some think that God is personally sending them a sign, reminding them how much He cares for we insignificant mortals. The most popular miracles of today, from my perspective, tend to fall into 2 camps. Icons sought in everyday objects, and horrendously tragic events. Now I know you must have heard about the most holy of holy grilled cheese sandwich. Surely this must be a miracle. Or how about this? This or this? Look, if you people want to get on your hands and knees before a splatter of salsa, go ahead. Just don't be surprised when people like me laugh at you and point out your appalling stupidity. Far more sickening is assigning a so-called miracle to a truly tragic event. I suppose fundies do this so they can make sense of it and see their Sky Daddy's hand everywhere and every when. The most recent major event that called for desperately seeking God's divine hand was the attempted murder of Representative Gabrielle Giffords of Arizona. Unless you've been living in a cave since January 8, 2011, you heard how Jared Lee Loughner shot Gabrielle Giffords in the head with an automatic pistol. She survived, whereas Christina Taylor Greene, a 9-year-old child, along with 5 adults, did not. Truly, this is a miracle worthy of God. If all of them were shot, and none of them were seriously harmed, now that would be a miracle. But no, an innocent child died. The fundies don't want to speak of Greene. They praise the unlikely survivors with a fanatical zeal, and care not a whit nor shed a tear for the dead. This sickens me to my core. Let's look at 2 hypothetical cases on so-called miracles, and why calling them miracles is insensitive at best and outright unconscionable at worst. Let's pretend there's a major train wreck. There are dozens of fatalities, men, women, and children. One survivor is named John. John is a quadriplegic due to the massive injuries he sustained in the accident. John is also a would-be Olympic athlete, competing in the next games. He has mastered 3 events: the balance beam, the rings, and the horse. John was considered a god among men at these talents. He was thought by all to be a shoo-in all these events until he lost his arms and legs. John, who spent all of his life reaching for the gold, is devastated beyond words. But don't worry, he lived, so it must be a miracle. Let's pretend there's an 11-year-old girl named Lena. She is a bright young lady with big dreams. She wants to be a neurosurgeon. So much so that she asked for medical textbooks for Christmas. She is loved by her family and friends. One day at school, a truck driver falls asleep at the wheel and drives into her classroom. He is hauling a very toxic and flammable substance that ignites instantly at the time of the collision. There is a very large explosion. Her teacher and all of her classmates are killed due to sheer chance. Lena's desk is furthest away from the point of impact, and the detonation literally blows her out of the classroom. However, she does not escape unscathed. She has 4th-degree burns over 80% of her body, some right down to the bone. She will never walk, see, have children, nor look normal ever again, and is very unlikely to survive. All of her friends from school and her teacher were burned to death, but Lena lived. If she survives, she will never have a life that she nor anyone else sane in the world would ever want. See, God really does care. If anybody can tell me of a major accident or natural catastrophe where a great deal of people should have died, and yet all were unscathed, not due to the choices of the people involved, but rather due to epically unnatural luck, then and only then call it a miracle. Today, the word has been cheapened to where championships from unlikely sports teams are called miracles. Let's move on to the Bible, shall we? I looked up the top 10 biblical miracles from a handful of fundamentalist websites. In interest of time, I will only do 5, and here they are, along with why they are filled to the brim with epic fail. Number 5. The Plagues of Egypt. We should all know the story of Moses, but let's do the Cliff Notes version. Pharaoh version 1.0 catches wind that there will be an important Jew born. So he kills all the newly born children, and since Yahweh loves himself a good mass infanticide, he does not lift a damned finger to stop it. Mo gets put in a basket and sent downriver, found by the Pharaoh's wife, raised as one of the royal family, grows up, kills a guy, runs off, and comes back. Now here is where it gets really twisted. Pharaoh version 2.0 is manipulated by Yahweh to not let the Jews go. So, does God punish his little puppet? No. He attacks the uninvolved peasantry of Egypt with a breathtakingly cruel indifference. They get blood, frogs, lice, flies, pestilence, boils, hail, locusts. No, wait, sorry, these locusts. Darkness and the death of the firstborn. Seeing a so-called miracle through the wholesale suffering of innocent people is indescribably vile. What is wrong with you people? If the plagues happened today to a people, would you stand up and cheer? Call it God's will and laugh at the suffering, starving, and dying children? You people are sick. Number 4, the splitting of the Red Sea. Mo is getting chased by Pharaoh 2.0's army. They run across the seabed, escape, all the Egyptians are drowned save for Yahweh's puppet, Pharaoh. The angels cheer, and God chastises them for celebrating the deaths of his creation. What the fuck? After the plagues and the deaths of infants beyond count, now God gives a shit about the Egyptian people? Let's talk about water and what we've done with it in the past 100 years or so. Have you ever heard of center pivot irrigation? This huge thing you see from the road or the air has helped change irrigation from a great deal of guesswork to scientific accuracy, allowing us to farm in places that would be impossible to do so only decades before. Think that the Red Sea is impressive? The Panama Canal has been in operation for almost 100 years and split 2 continents in half. 2 continents! Much cooler than a meager hike across a seabed. Rather ironically, if you want to see how much we've improved our uses and understanding of water, you need look no further than Sin City. I am deeply humbled by my complete lack of knowledge of what must go into keeping Las Vegas alive and kicking. It is, as far as I know, a truly unique city within human history, to have a cultural and entertainment capital so far away from a large source of fresh water. Vegas, the pivot, and countless other developments that have stayed with us for far longer than just crossing one meager body of water. 3. The resurrection of Lazarus. Okay, there is a rich schmuck named Lazarus who is a 4-day stiff, and Jesus poofs him back from the dead. Am I supposed to be impressed? 1 life saved or brought back from the dead, and only Jesus can do this trick. How about hundreds of thousands or millions of lives saved with skills and technology that anybody can do or use? Take a moment to think about all the lives saved with CPR, defibrillators, and the Heimlich maneuver. It must be in the millions, if not more. Millions of lives saved versus 1 schmuck. You would think that a so-called savior would want to, well, save lives, so he would show that trick to the rest of us. 2. Joshua stops the sun. Okay, we got Josh here who wants to rape, pillage, and kill all the people of Canaan. Why is it that so many of your miracles champion crimes against humanity? So, we got a 24 to 48 hour period with some extra daylight. How about something far more impressive? Something that changed the course of human history. The everyday light bulb. Before this thing came around in 1879, night was a time to be feared always. Any forms of light before this one were, well, on fire, and could burn down homes, villages, and cities, and did so, often. Night was no longer to be feared, and it was safe for the first time to have artificial light. Just take a second and think about how many lights you have used today before you watch this vid, and how many you will use before you go to bed. What would your life be like without them? Finally, creation and us being here. This miracle is the biggest fail of them all. Why? Because the odds of you being here are 1 in 1. Just like the odds of you listening to my voice right now are 1 in 1. It happened, and saying that one guy poofed it into existence without any evidence to back it up is puerile and idiotic. You might adore your paradigms. However, the breathtakingly indifferent laws that bind our reality together do not. So stop conjuring miracles from nothing to justify your frail and indefensible ideals, and adapt, change, and grow up. This is the Wandering Taoist, reminding you to enjoy the little things.